and somebody was asking me, okay, he noticed that I did not even comment on that, and I said it's not necessary. If one wants to learn the deen, then he should go to the malam, not on the social media. And the event is the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we know. I don't want to be specific. I know that, I'm sure we all know about the event. But again, even if you want, I've made comment before, Islam Q&A, it is not the alpha and omega of Islam. And I say it's like, it should be a guide, not that is it is beyond that. It is beyond what you see in Islam Q&A. So it's not everything on Islam Q&A that is absolutely correct. All right, so somebody labeled some people that Islam Q&A malams or scholars. So as much as possible, things that has to do with the Sharia, because it will be bad for something to be clear in Quran, and because of poor understanding, then you go and just call out something on the Google or something, and you say this is what it is. And what I realize is some of our brothers, they were commenting, very quick to comment on the issues that you have. You just go to hadith. You know, the hadiths on the internet sometimes they are not correct. Like I mentioned before, there are we have enemies of Islam. They can insert some things that you don't know, and it will not be correct. If you say this is from Imam Tabarani, what if somebody is the one that inserted there? So the original book will always be original book. And some of those brothers mentioning that they just call out one thing. Eventually, they got some people now posted some other things again from another site, which is in sharp contrast to what was posted earlier. So I now see people now start taking U-turn. So it is still based on the depth of knowledge. The worst form of lie that one can tell is to tell lie against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنِ افْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا وَلَا تَكْفُ مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ. So that is what is there. If you tell lie against Allah, it is worse. So one has to be careful in these social media things. It has its own advantage, but when it comes to Islam, we should be careful. I think that's the summary of the message. And we should not be sentimental, because when the event happens, you see many of our brothers and sisters, no, it's not like this, it's not like this, Islam is not like this, it's not like this. By the time people started giving evidences, then they started calming down. So one should not be too quick to pass judgment as it relates to the Sharia of Islam. You have to know what it is. So if you see evidence you are not clear or you are not convinced, then go to people that will explain to you. So I think that's the little message. It's something I mentioned yesterday in the Ta'alim, that one of our Salaf, Umar ibn Abdulaziz, when he was writing to Sham, people in Sham, so that وَمَنْ عَلِمَ أَنَّ كَلَامَهُ مِنْ عَمَلِهِ قَلَّ. So whoever knows that what you say, and by extension what you write, is part of your worship, then you'll be careful. You'll be careful about how you say things, especially about Islam. So inshallah, the sections today is the hadith number 74. Babu hal yakulu al-mawla inni min fulan. That is section that, is it right for a mawla to say I am from this person? And this is a practical event in our life today. So I'm going to give, mawla has a lot of meaning, and it is important that we be reminded about the mawla, because the mawla has appeared in Quran in a lot of places in Quran. And anywhere it appears, then this is the meaning. It appears here, this is another meaning. It appears here is another meaning. So we need to know the meaning of the Quran. That will say the mawla, mawla, mawla. So that is where we start from. I think the حدثنا موسى بن إسماعيل قال حدثنا عبد الواحد بن زياد قال حدثنا وائل بن داود الليثي قال حدثنا عبد الرحمن بن أبي حبيب قال لي عبد الله بن عمر ممن أنت قلت من تيم التميم قال من أنفسهم أو من مواليهم قلت من مواليهم قال فهلا قلت من مواليهم إذن. The hadith is da'if, but as usual, there are lessons to learn from the hadith. Now, the first one I mentioned is that what is called a mawla, of course, by the time we see it in the Quran. Now, the first meaning of Mawla, Sheikh Sa'id Al-Kamali, Sahibu Kursiyu, Imam Malik rahimahullahu al-Maghribi, was trying to give a lot of explanation about Mawla. And of course, we also see it in the books of the ulama, that Mawla, one of the meaning, at least a Muslim should be aware, that Mawla is somebody who has freed a slave. That's al-Mu'tiq. So if I have a slave and I free the slave, then I become Mawla of that slave. So that was called the Mawla Ni'mah in Arabia Peninsula. Now that is the first meaning. The second meaning of Mawla, when we see it, it can be that al-Mu'taku or al-Atiq can also be Mawla, meaning that even the slave himself that is free, that slave that is freed himself or herself is also called Mawla. So in Arabic, it is called the Ahdul Abday. That's a word and opposite has the same word. So it can be Mawla. So sometimes we'll see in the Hadith, they will say that this person is the Mawla of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So that is a slave that has been freed. And of course, that person that is freed, then he becomes the Mawla. So that Mawla, the freed slave, is the one that is being referred to in this Hadith. That is a slave that has been freed. And Prophet has mentioned it, al-Mawla min al-Qawm min anfusihim, or Mawla al-Qawm min anfusihim, that those freed slaves among people, then he becomes one of them, not by relation, not by family lineage, but by the fact that they are close to one another. And of course, Prophet, as much as possible, he tries to cement the relationship between the Muslim. So that is the second meaning of al-Mawla. And the third meaning of al-Mawla is that it can be the meaning of al-Wali, like a master. That somebody, and that is what Allah mentioned in Quran, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ مَوْلَى الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَنَى الْكَافِرِينَ لَا مَوْلَى لَهُمْ. So Allah is the master. Then Surah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Mawla, that is the master of those that are Muslim. And it is the Waliyu, that is those that are very close. Then again, it can also be somebody under whose custody you have been entrusted to, somebody who takes decision, some affair in your family. Now we remember the hadith of Rasulullah that ayyuma imra'atin nakahat nafsaha bighayri idni mawlaha fanikahuha batilun fanikahuha batilun fanikahuha batil. That any woman who gives herself out in marriage now without the permission of her master, al-Wali, of her Wali, we know Wali is a short condition, then that nikah, it is null and void. So Mawla sometimes can be the person in the family under whose custody, Wali, that gives you out in the marriage. Now again, Mawla, so that is the interesting about the language of Quran, the language of the Islam, which is the Arabiya. Like I mentioned before, this what they call the lion, if you see it, like I mentioned that up to 500 words. Sometimes you see a word that will mean a lot of things in Arabic. So Mawla is one of them. The Mawla sometimes can also mean the son of my uncle. I don't know how to put in English language, but the son of my uncle becomes is also your Mawla. And historically, it's good to know, we know the Abu Lahab. He had a son that is called Lahab. Now one time the son of Abbas saw, that's called Al-Fadlu, we know him. Ibn Abbas saw Lahab, and he was telling, say, Sahlan, or Mahlan ibn Ammi, Mahlan Mawlay. So Mawla sometimes can mean like the son of one's uncle. Of course, that one is not commonly used. And of course, the last Mawla that we just mentioned, there are still some other meaning, is the best of Mawla, which is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like the superintendent, or the Mawla of every in this life, because under his control, under his hand, the control of the word is. I think that will take care of that. So Mawla, sometimes if somebody accepts Islam from my hand, then I become his Mawla, even though I'm not responsible for his feeding. So this is Mawla because of Islam. And this is important because, especially in Mustalah al-Hadith, that the ulama they usually discuss. So at least an insight into the meaning of Mawla that we have. So if you go to the Hadith, the event that happened was that somebody, Abdullah ibn Umar, who is a Sahaba, Somebody went to him and he was asking me, where are you from? From where are you? And the person said that I am from Taim of Tamim. Or I'm from the tribe of Tamim. Another narration from Bani Tamim. And Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Umar now said that, are you from them? Or you are from their Mawla? Are you from them means that, are you from their lineage? Al-anta min nasabihim am anta mawla? Are you from like a family? Are you from this tribe? Or you are like a freed slave among them? And the person now responded that I'm indeed from their Mawla. Like I mentioned, the slave that is freed becomes a Mawla. Then Abdullah ibn Umar now said that, why didn't you say before that you are from the freed slave among them? And this is very, very important because Islam pay an utmost attention to lineage. Islam does not want any lineage to be mixed or mixed together. And that is why if you see the hadith, very, very strongly worded hadith, and this is the one that is important to us nowadays. And that hadith has been reported clearly by Imam Bukhari, reported by Imam Muslim, because the hadith is sahih, very authentic. And the hadith is saying, Ayyuma rajulin that iddaha li ghayri abihi fahuwa ya'lam or fahuwa ya'lamuhu, then faqad kafar. That any man or any woman now that make himself or herself, he calls somebody that, okay, this is my father. You call him by the name of that person, that he relate himself to somebody who is not his father, and he or she knows that this is not my father, then the person has committed an act of kufr. The ulama said it is not kufr that takes you out of Islam, but of course it says it's a kufr al-asghar. So it is kufritic for once to relate yourself to this person as my father. And of course we see it sometimes, there's just a practical issue. And the Prophet now said that man da'a ila qawmin or man da'a qawman, then that is the purpose of this hadith, that whoever make himself to be part of a group, to be part of a tribe, وَلَيْسَ لَهُ فِيهِمْ نَسَبٌ, and he does not have relation, that is a relation now, we know relation, family, lineage, he does not have lineage with them, then فَلْيَتَبَوَّ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ, that the person should take his position in hellfire. You know, people say, okay, I'm from this, so it has to be clear in Islam, okay, I'm from this tribe, I'm not from this person. So if you are not from Gombe, for instance, you say you are from Gombe, then the person falls into the hadith. So it is strongly worded because Islam pays utmost attention to lineage. It should not be mixed because there are some issues that can arise from it. So that is the essence of this particular hadith. Now, in fact, especially as it has to do with the father, which is very, very important, that in fact anybody that man tasaba nafsahu li ghayri abihi fa fal jannatu alayhi haram, that whoever relates himself to somebody who is not his father, if we see it in the Quran, that id'uhum li abaihim huwa aqsatu inda Allah fa in lam ta'lamu abahum fa ikhwanukum fi ad-din wa mawalikum. So if the person, so one should not relate himself to somebody that is not his father. Again, he should not relate himself to a tribe that is not his tribe. So it leaves us with two questions that I think somebody might want to ask. Now, one of them is, you see in our environment today, you see some people, they can bear the names of their uncle, perhaps because their uncle is what? Is popular. And because it's popular, you want to say, okay, I'm the son of this person. And people say it unknowingly. That instead of you to say, I'm the son of Aliyy, for instance, who is poor, who does that, is somebody that people do not know, you say, I'm the son of Balabi Amila, or the son of something like a Trump, just so that you can gain popularity. And it is clear to the person because it is mentioned that for who you know that this is not, if you don't know, that one is a different ball game, but you know that the person should face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the other question is, a brother asked some time ago, I think that was last 2 weeks, and I gave him response that the person wanted to register. If well, the name, this is the name of. So this is, I just in our discussion, I put it in name. The person said, I'm thinking that this is the name of my grandfather, not my name that I want to. And this is common in our environment, where people bear the name of their grandfather rather than the name of their father. So as for this one, Bahalifi, there's no problem because it's clear from Sharia. So one can bear the name of his grandfather. You can relate yourself to your grandfather. So because it is clear in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, one time he was telling people, he said, Anna Nabiyyu la kadhib. I am a Nabi, I am a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is never a lie, it can never be a lie. And Nabi, Ana bin Abdul Muttalib. I am the son of Abdul Muttalib. So one can attribute himself to his grandfather. The father of the Prophet ﷺ is Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib, but he related himself to Abdul Muttalib. So it is not haram, it's totally permissible to be there. My name, Aliyy, is not the name of my father. It is the name of my grandfather. So it is quite common in some places to bear the name of grandfather. In fact, it is in Quran that you can bear the name of your grandfather. Isn't it? Look at Yaqub. Am kuntum shuhada idh hadaru Yaqub al-maut. Idh qala libanihi ma ta'buduna min ba'di qalu na'budu ilahaka wa ilaha abaika Ibrahim wa Ismail wa Ishaq. Who is the father of Yaqub? The father of Yaqub is what? Is Ishaq. But then the children were saying that we worship the Lord of your father, and they mentioned Ibrahim. So the grandfather can be you can attribute it to grandfather, there's no problem. So there's no mixture of lineage. But other than grandfather, you cannot link anybody apart from the father and the grandfather. In fact, if you look at the Surah to Yusuf, the same thing also happened. وَكَذَلِكَ يَجْتَبِيكَ رَبُّكَ وَيُعَلِّمُكَ مِنْ تَعْوِيلِ الْحَدِيثِ وَيُتِمُّ نِعْمَتَهُ عَلَيْكَ كَمَا أَتَمَّهَا عَلَى أَبَوَيْكَ مِنْ قَبْلُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْحَاقَ. So it's Yaqub is the father of Yusuf. But he's saying that your father, who is your father? Ibrahim, to Yusuf, his son. Then he said that Ishaq is your father. So in Quran it is clear, so this is the Sharia of Islam. You can bear the name of your grandfather, but certainly not what? The name of anybody other than your grandfather. So that takes care of that. Now the next question that might not arise is that, okay, what if the person does not know, for instance, his father? Now perhaps there are cases where they don't know. That is what the Quran has tried to address. That if you don't know their father, they become your brother, not to bear your name. Then they become your mawali. It's not to bear the name of that person. That, okay, I don't know the father of this person. So it now becomes clear that those that adopt son or children, you can't adopt somebody and give the person your name. So it is not part of the Islamic Sharia to give them the name. So you can give them another name. For instance, the Al-Allama Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah was mentioning that if you don't know their father, you can decide to name him in Arabia Peninsula anyway. You can decide to name him after his mother. In any case, there's Isa ibn Maryam. They didn't say Isa ibn this particular person. So some other people have said that you can just give him that maybe Abdullah. That is his father. So if the person is bearing like a Yusuf, is a Yusuf, maybe Abdullah, that is the son of a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This servant you don't know. So you are not saying, if your name is not Abdullah, but you just give Abdullah. Some people have said that, we just are acceptable. So it's your mawal or maula, and I think that takes care of that particular the hadith. So what we have just recited from the hadith as much as possible is that the lineage should be clear. And I know a question that might also come, I'm trying to just read through your mind, is what of this case of citizenship? Because in our country, there is some of the country now, I think even some other countries, some people go to America, they become a citizen. They say they get a green card. They become citizens of that particular place. So citizenship, there's no problem with citizenship, but with the condition that you do not relate yourself that you are from this place. So by virtue of the law of the land, that if you have spent 18 years or 10 years in a particular person, then you become entitled to some of the right of the citizen of that particular place. No problem. But you will not say that you are from that place. No. So you are, by virtue, it has to be clear that by virtue of probably the constitution, then you become a citizen of that particular place because you are entitled to the right of that person. But you must always go back that I'm from this particular place. And that is what the mujmal, the summary of what the ulama have mentioned about the hadith and things that probably they are practical. I pray Allah bless. So the father that one's father is poor, it doesn't mean that the person will not become big tomorrow. Being poor in life does not mean that the person is doomed, is condemned. Al-ibra bil-akhirah. Al-ibra is what? The akhirah. Wallahu alam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.